Everyone, welcome back to Introvert Advantage Book Study. Again, my name is Ben and I'm one of the pastors at Gloria today. And man, I'm just excited for whatever it is God might be doing in your life, through your life, and really for the relationships around you through this book. As I had said earlier, this was a big read in my life. This enriched my marriage in so many ways. And for every single couple that I do premarital counseling for, post-marital counseling for, anybody, I try to either invite them to get this book or give them a copy of this book because I really believe in that so much. And it really again comes to this way of looking at relationships. And really it was Jesus who, for his disciples, for those who believe and trust in him, he gave them sort of look at relationships in this way. Now, in chapters 6 and 7 of the book, it's going to be talking about social gatherings, how you approach social gatherings. But before we get there, I want to bring to you a different social gathering, and that was in John 13. Jesus was gathering with his disciples around the Passover meal. And this was a very special time for a Jew as they celebrate Passover together. And it says at a certain point in the meal, Jesus got up from the table. Remember, they'd be sort of reclining around this table, so their feet are kind of all over in each other's face. They're kind of nuzzled up with each other, right? Definitely not COVID social distancing, but they're right around one another. And as Jesus gets up from the table, and it says he got into the posture of a servant, a slave, someone who this is a very lowly task he's about to do. And he gets a basin with some water and he gets a towel and he proceeds to wash the feet of his disciples. This is a monumental move of Jesus as he shows that true leadership and true love is found in service and sacrifice to the people we love. That it's not about us and us just getting what we want or us, being able to structure it and control in a way that best works for us. But really what it means to be a servant leader, what it means to be a head of household, what it means to act first in love is that we serve one another, that we're the lead foot washers of our families. Jesus said this, he said, do you understand what I've done for you? You call me teacher, you call me Lord, and that's who I am. And in chapter 13, verse 14, he says, if I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. A new command I give to you, love one another. Just as I have loved you, I want you to love one another. So Jesus, he laid it out for us. He said, this is what it means to follow me. To love one another is to wash their feet. So as we think about the difference between introversion and extroversion, the real question is, in a relationship, how can we best serve one another? I was performing a wedding on a particular weekend, and many times my wife might choose to come with me and then we kind of can be at the reception together and it's kind of a fun time. And we were at this particular wedding and I just remember, it was fun. It was a great dance. Everything was going wonderful. And I remember my wife coming up to me and she's like, hey, can we leave in maybe 15, 20 minutes? Now, I'm more extroverted and I'm loving this gathering, all right? And I remember on my insides, I was like, really? You want to leave already? Like, we're kind of right in the middle of it. Like, this is fun. But I knew what my wife was asking me. And it was, I'm hitting the end of my energy level here. All right. And I knew it had been a big day before we got to the wedding. I was kind of thinking through the things that had happened that weekend. And now we're at this thing. And it's kind of like, you know what? It'd be cool if we got home. What she was really saying is, hey, I need to go recharge my batteries. And I want you to come with. I want to go do this together, but I kind of just want to go do our thing. And can we leave in 20 minutes? I remember as the husband in that situation and as someone who loves my wife and I want the best for her, that it's not about how long I want to be at the party, but it's about serving her in that moment. Right? And so 15 to 20 minutes, we left and it was fine. Everything was fine. Right? But being more extroverted in nature, it would have been easy for me to want to place blame, shame, or guilt on her and be like, really? Why don't you want to stay at the party? You don't want to, da, da, da. But of course, that's not the approach I want to take. But when it comes to the difference between introversion and extroversion, it is so easy to want to operate just from our comfort level and not think about the other person, right? Couple common things that can happen in relationship is how much processing time do you give to your partner when you have a conflict or when something's coming up, right? Many extroverts, they want an answer now, right? It's the communication style of ping pong or tennis. It's like, I hit to you, you hit to me, and it's boop, 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 and it's fast, right? That's one communication style, but for many introverts, they would prefer more of a bowling style. Meaning it's your turn and you bowl. And no one else gets to bowl when it's your turn and you bowl. You knock down the amount of pins you knock down, but you're not over yet, right? Because how many times you get to throw that ball? Twice. So now we get to ask questions. We get to get clarification. We get to understand what you're really saying. And then you get to go again, right? But as long as it's your turn, right? It's your turn. But how much processing time? Asking questions ahead of time can be a wonderful way. Being like, hey, this evening, can we talk about this, or this? It's something I want to kind of communicate through, and giving some lead up, giving some processing time, right? Being okay with silence, right? You might ask a question, you might make a statement, and then there's silence for a while. And as extroverts, you want to be okay with that, right? But this flips over also to, as an introverted person, how you deal with the external people of your life as well, right? As an introvert, you don't want to get trapped in your internal world, because you got to be able to make the things on the inside known on the outside. So there has to be mechanisms and time frames in which things are going to be talked about and how things are going to be worked out in the relationship. So as a couple or as a friendship or whatever it looks like in your life, the best thing ever is to set your communication boundaries about how you can accomplish good communication, good conflict resolution in a way that works for each person in the relationship and seeks to serve that person in the way you communicate. Remember, it's not just about getting your way. It's about washing their feet. It's about serving them. It's about setting up systems that work for everyone involved. Chapters 6 and 7 really talk about social gatherings and how those get accomplished, and also the work environments and how those things can be accomplished in great ways, right? Maybe you're in a position of leadership within a particular space, right? And there's people that you lead. This is a question I ask as a pastor is, do we always set up meetings or worship services or anything where we're gathering as a community to work for both personality styles? Remembering that, as the book is kind of stating, in our world, it is set up for extroverts. That is seen as the predominantly better way of having a temperament, is to be quick to speak, quick to think, is you're right on the ball, you don't mind the limelight, and that's seen as something good. So usually the loudest person and the first to talk gets their way. That doesn't mean that's what's best for society or for your team or for your organization or for our church, but that just means that's kind of the natural practice of things. So what does it mean to set things up that it works for both people? Right? And the book gives some wonderful tips and tricks in this. On page 200 of Introvert Advantage, it has this wonderful little section where it just talks about bridging the communication gap between introverts and extroverts. But it says the best way for communicating with introverts is talk about one topic at a time, ask and then listen, give each person adequate time for a response, don't finish each other's sentences, don't interrupt. That's a big one. It's not on the list, but I promise you, put that in there. Don't interrupt, and communicate in writing if possible. right? Those are the best steps. And this is on page 200. I'm telling you right now, you just take those 5 things and you think about your relationships, how you parent your children, how you lead groups at work, how you interact with your family. And that's going to make a difference. The best way for communicating with extroverts is communicate orally. Let them talk and think out loud. Include a variety of topics. Expect immediate action and keep the conversation moving, okay? Again, you want it to work for both people. And this is, remember, a relationship's hard. They likened it, in the book to a dance. I mean, so it has to work fluidly for both people, right? There was this acronym that I made up, but it's the word hurt. And I think what happens a lot in relationships, as I've been doing a lot of counseling, what ends up happening is people end up feeling hurt. And people most often will feel hurt, H-U-R-T, when they feel like they're not being heard, when they feel like they're not being understood, when they feel like they're not being respected, and when they feel like they're not being trusted. That's many times when people will feel hurt, when they feel like you're not hearing me, you're not understanding me, you're not respecting my opinion or what I need, and you're not trusting that I want what's best as well when we need to work together. You don't want a relationship that even in the way you communicate and practice conflict resolution, that you're introducing hurt into the relationship. But instead, Jesus gives us the opposite of hurt, which is love, right? By seeking to serve and seeking even to sacrifice for the betterment of the others in our sphere of influence, we'll be working against the natural tendency of people feeling hurt, not heard or understood or respected or trusted, but instead we want to hear them. I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to respect your point of view. And I want to trust that we're going to do this together and we're on the same side. So as you look at chapters 6 and 7, right? I want you to process it from a standpoint of what does it look like to lead your relationships, but to lead from a place of servanthood, to lead of a place that desires to know more about what's going on in their world than it is just to communicate what's going on in your world, to seek to be a listener, someone who can hear others, someone who's there to understand what's going on in their life, and to be that kind of a leader in your relationships. I promise you, right, that kind of love will not come back void, but instead it will enrich the relationships. It will empower the relationships, and you'll experience more joy and more peace and more love than ever before. May God empower you and encourage you to get this done in your relationships and know that He's with you every single step of the way. Well, God bless you all. And the next time we're together, we're going to be in chapters 8 and 9 of Introvert Advantage, looking at some really cool stuff there. But until then, may God's peace be with you, and may He empower you to do great things. Amen? Amen. We'll see you next time.